Hey folks, last night was the top 12 on Season 3 of The Voice. Tonight, 2 contestants will be eliminated regardless of whose team they're on. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Christina Aguilera lost both of her screechers in this the week of the top 12? That might be what she's going for though, then she could have more one-on-one time with Duron. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. No, I thought last night's show was just okay. There weren't really any standouts, there were more disappointments than anything, but it was still worth watching. The first performance of the night was Micheala Paige with Blow Me One Last Kiss. Blake said that when Pink sees this song on her set list, she takes a deep breath. That's called a sigh, Blake. She probably just didn't like the song. There are plenty of good Pink songs that would have been a perfect fit for Micheala. This is not one of them. Even that I could overlook, though, if she had performed it well. Unfortunately, though, I thought her voice was about as flat as her hair, which is a shame because she's usually pretty flawless, and I really do like her. I guess it could have sounded a lot worse, though, if we had actually been able to hear her over the music. I think maybe the mohawk acted as kind of a voice stabilizer or something, so without it, she struggles a little bit. The coaches spent more time telling her how much they like her rather than how much they liked her performance. It means they didn't like it at all. Poor Micheala is going to need a miracle to survive this week. Going first is usually a pretty tough spot to be in, and she survived on a lifeline last week. Most of all, though, it might not have been a very good idea to drastically change the hair this early on. I mean, personally, I thought it looked much better, but the casual viewer that may have liked her before might not have even recognized her this time around. Did y'all notice, though, how when the coaches were talking to her, every time she blinked, her hair would move? Well, those fake lashes, they were so long that they were moving the hair that was hanging in front of her face. Next up, it was Duron with Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Well, we know why Christina gave him this song. She can't take her eyes off of him. During rehearsal, doesn't it seem like her voice changes when she talks to Des? She's like almost giddy and schoolgirlish. I think she wants to sleep with him, but who can blame her? I mean, come on, look at him. No, I thought this was a dull, drab song choice. A who cares performance. Sounded exactly like I expected Des to sound, and he'll be just fine this week. Well, mostly because he's drop dead gorgeous, but he also has a nice voice too. The coaches all acted like this was the perfect song for him. I didn't think so at all. Maybe they're just trying to trick Christina into always giving him boring songs. I don't know. Next up, it's Adriana Louise, better known to the Deborah fans as the Devil, the no-talent hack that stole Deborah's spot in the top 12. Either one works for me. She sang Carrie Underwood's Good Girl. Christina wanted her to play a sassy character, and she did that just fine, but once again, she sounded just horrible. It's almost painful to listen to her sing. I'm still trying to figure out what it is that Christina likes about this girl, because I don't get this screamer at all. The coaches pretended to like it. I think they liked it about as much as I did, though, which is not at all. It seemed like Christina was trying to convince us to grade her on a curve. Well, since her songs are so difficult, maybe you should give her easier songs then, because I don't vote based on degree of difficulty. I vote based on what it sounds like, and that sounded like a hot mess. Next up was Cody Belew, Bam Bam, with Tina Turner's Simply the Best. I think Cee Lo must have a super gay advisor picking Cody's songs. Lady Gaga for the battles, George Michael last week, Tina Turner this week, who the gays adore. I adore her too, of course I am one of the gays. If he sings a Madonna song next week, then we'll know for sure. Now, I thought this was a terrible song choice for Cody. This is one of those songs that you really have to spit out. If the stage isn't covered with saliva when you're done with this song, then you probably didn't do it right. And I don't think Cody did it right. It sounded like average or even below average karaoke to me, but I still like Cody, so I hope he survives. The coaches love him too. Cee Lo even called him the F word. Fabulous. Next it was Amanda Brown with Spectrum. Well, her song choices have been all over the spectrum. Unfortunately, for this song, her voice was all over the spectrum too. It was a screechy mess. Now, to be fair, she did set the bar pretty high for herself last week, which made this performance even more disappointing. Levine ought to be horsewhipped for letting her sing this song. I didn't like it at all, and I also don't like the over-dramatic thing that she does with her hands. It was okay last week, but this week I don't know if she's a singer or a genie or a snake charmer or what. I just didn't get it. The coaches didn't get it either. Christina is still trying to figure out who Amanda is. Adam said that the imperfections didn't bother him. I think they bothered Amanda. She looked very defeated after that performance, and who can blame her? Next up was Bryan Keith. Bryan used to be the lead screamer in a metal band. Well, I find that a little bit hard to believe. That must have been the dullest metal band ever. Luckily, he didn't scream at us this time around, though. He sang Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. Pretty good song choice, and vocally, I thought he was the best of the night. You know, I was ready to write Bryan off a couple of weeks ago, but he is really moving up on my list as a real contender. Blake and Christina think he's taken over the top spot on Adam's team. My only problem, once again, it was kind of lazy. I mean, you could probably see a more lively performance in a funeral home. He performs with just no conviction, but he's going to be just fine this week. Next up is Pope Billy Goat II. It's Cassadee Pope with Kelly Clarkson's Behind These Hazel Eyes. Bye, bye. I mean, what else can I say? Exactly what I expected from Cassadee. I'm sure it was enough to get her mean fans voting. I mean, maybe even some of her nice fans, too. Not all of her fans are mean. Some of them are actually nice, but most of them are mean like snakes. Blake gave her a standing ovation and pointed out how popular she is. I suspect that he gets about 1 million tweets a day from her fans, so I'm not sure if he realizes that she's pretty unpopular with most of the viewers. And when he talks to her backstage, I don't know, I get the sense that he really does not like her. I don't know why I get that sense. It just that the way he talks to her, he just seems like almost disgusted by her. Next up is Trevin Hunt with When a Man Loves a Woman. Well, Cee Lo didn't put a whole lot of imagination into Trevin's song choice, did he? It was a pretty safe song choice. If I never hear this song again, it'll be much too soon. Now, last week I really liked Trevin. He was so much better and had so much more control when he doesn't take the song into the stratosphere. This week, he went right back into the stratosphere. I didn't like the over-singing. I still think his high notes are shrill, but people just eat those up on shows like this, so I guess it was okay for him. So he's going to be just fine this week. One thing I dislike even more than the over-singing, though, is the over-praising. Trevin once again got a 4-coach standing ovation. He was called a gift from God, magical, a miracle, an angel, a blessing. Give me a break. He sang a freaking song. He didn't find a cure for herpes. Next up was Melanie Martinez. We got to see a picture of Melanie back when she was normal, before the two-toned hair and the silly bows. She was actually quite pretty before she turned into a big old gimmick. This week she sang a song called Cough Syrup, which I had never heard before, I don't think. But it was actually tolerable. Well, Melanie has 2 types of performances for me. One that I hate, and one that I don't hate as much. I didn't hate this one as much, so good for her. Next up is one of my favorites, Nicholas David with The Power of Love. The Huey Lewis Power of Love, not the Celine Dion Power of Love, thank God. Cee Lo wanted Nicholas to come out in star mode so he could appeal to a wider audience. How do you appeal to a wider audience by singing a Huey Lewis and the News song? I'm not sure where Cee Lo was going with that, but I think Nicholas pulled it off quite nicely. There were a couple of strained moments, but overall, I think it was one of the best of the night. Now, next week, I think he could really benefit from sitting behind the piano like he did during rehearsal. A lot of people eat that up on shows like this. They feel like you're more talented if you're playing an instrument because you're obviously more of an artist. And I think he benefits from that more than trying to come out in star mode. The coaches keep calling him strange and beautiful. I don't know, it almost feels like their politically correct way of saying, you're ugly as all get out, but damn, you sure can sing. Next up, it's Sylvia Yacoub. Now, I was really rooting for Sylvia coming into this week since she was so good last week, but from the get-go, I knew My Heart Will Go On was not going to be a wise song choice. I'm actually surprised that more people don't sing this song on shows like this, on these singing shows, right alongside I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Anyway, so yeah, this is one of the corniest songs ever. Christina wanted Sylvia to Beyonce-fy it. What? You can't put flavor in this song. The only flavor that belongs in this song is corn. Sylvia completely butchered this performance. I thought it was the worst of the night. I would imagine that this is what the last few minutes of the real Titanic sounded like. Just a mess. Cee Lo has never heard anybody else cover this song, so this was the second best he's ever heard it. It also means it was the worst he's ever heard it. And the last of the night was Terry McDermott with More Than a Feeling, which he said was his most challenging song yet, and maybe it was, but it wasn't exactly outside of his wheelhouse, and I thought it was his least impressive performance yet. I mean, it was good for the most part. I guess the strategy is to not fix what's not broken, and that'll be fine for this week, but he's going to need a breakout moment in the next week or two if he's going to go all the way. I don't know if he can do that if he keeps doing the same thing. I feel like I'm listening to a classic rock station, and he's kind of generic, but I still like him, and he's going to be fine this week. So anyway, going home, I think it could be anybody. I'm going to have to predict Micheala, unfortunately. I hope it's not Micheala, but I think she's in a pretty tough position this week. And Adriana, although she seems to stick around like a bad something. I can't think, what is a bad thing that's like a slug or something, just hangs there and you can't get rid of it without making a mess. And so, but hopefully she'll be gone. I'm hoping Christina loses both of her screamers, but I kind of hold out a little bit of hope for Sylvia. Although, it's really hard to say. Anyway, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about last night's show. Let me know who you think's going home. Subscribe to me on YouTube, and I'll see you folks next time.